Welcome to Wednesdays with Willa. I am your host, Willa White, and this is my weekly podcast show that airs on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium. It also goes out on my YouTube channel as well as the Lilydale Assembly Facebook page. And this is year 8 of episodes of Wednesdays with Willa. So you've got lots of past years of shows and episodes that you can enjoy with all my wonderful special guests and the topics I've covered over the years relating to spiritualism, mediumship, healing, faith, family, and more. And have really been excited about the guests I've been featuring on the show this year. So please go back and view those. A lot of them are guests for this coming Lilydale summer season for the 2025 summer season that starts on June 20th, runs for 10 weeks. Final day of the season is August 31st. If you would like more information about the daily events, the message services, and the many, many wonderful workshops, you can go to the lilydaleassembly.org website and get lots of information there, as well as register for classes online. I also would like to mention I have two classes coming for June. On June 2nd, I'm doing a live only class on spiritual experiences. You can bring your questions and I will give you answers relating to your spiritual experiences that you may be having with mediumship, intuition, all kinds of things. Great questions that people ask. And over the duration of the event, I'll be taking those questions from people who attend. The other event is on June 9th, and that one is for developing mediums. It's a guided spiritual assessment. I'll be doing a guided exercise and helping mediums to really understand the nuances of their mediumship development and the things that they can lean into, the things they need to lean away from. And been a wonderful event to do in the past, and I know mediums really enjoy having me lead them through that experience. And those are both live only events. So I do encourage you to get registered on my website, willawhite.com, and you can check out other online classes that I offer. So without further ado, we want to get into our topic for today, which has to do with looking at art with spirit vision. And to do that, I have my special guest today is my mother, Bonnie White. Hello, Mom.
Hello.
We're glad to have you back on the show through the years. Mom has been a special guest. I know you love watching her come on the show with me. And those of you who don't know who my mother, Bonnie White, is, she is also a registered medium at Lilydale. She's a beautiful soul and a spirit artist. She's helped so many people connect with their loved ones in spirit and has the fabulous ability to draw their loved ones, their faces emerge on the page in charcoal or sometimes in pastel or in big, large canvases, color canvases. And she's been an artist my entire life, and of course, before I was born. But she's been able to capture the essence of spirit, the essence of living people and landscapes, and has really studied art extensively. And we enjoy going to various art museums together and having those kinds of experiences and talking about the spiritual dimension of art. And today we're going to be focusing on Paul Cezanne. So it's going to be beautiful to focus on one of his pieces of art today. But we're going to give you a little bit of historical background about Paul Cezanne so you can feel a bit more comfortable with what we're about to do. And then my mother's going to share with you how she views paintings by various artists and the things that emerge, that show up, that she is really attuned to viewing. And so this will help you to also access your own spirit vision, to really look with spiritual eyes upon the beauty, the form, the color that is before you. So I'm really excited about today's show.
Thank you.
Yes. And Mom's been, as I said, a guest for many, many years. So please look back at the archive videos. People really enjoy my mother sharing about spiritual vision, inner vision, spirit art, all kinds of principles having to do with the divine and she's well studied in all of those things. But we should jump into Paul Cezanne and some of his history,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
So I'm handling some of the history part of it, and Mom's gonna handle more of the spirit art part.
Experiment. Experience of viewing.
Exactly. But for those of you who are not familiar with art, it's okay. Uh, it's not for everyone to know all the facts and figures, and art is one of those things that you start to understand the more you're exposed to it and discuss it with other people. So in this, just listen along for now. But Paul Cezanne is considered by many art historians to be the father of modern art. And he actually bridged the gap, is considered to have bridged the gap between Impressionism and Cubism. And he was born in 1839. He died in 1906. And this particular painting is very significant to his passing. So just hold that for a little moment. But Cezanne, he was French, and he was raised in a family where his father was a banker, and he didn't have to worry about money. And his father was not very interested in him pursuing art, but he did anyway. He was encouraged by Zola to go to Paris and study art there, and he did things with drawing, and I believe he lived with Zola for a bit. But one of his mentors was Pizarro, and Pizarro mentored many of the Impressionists, and Cezanne was part of a special group of impressionists. I mean, you have different ones, Manet and Monet that we think of when we think of impressionists. But he was part of a special group that was able to display his art, and he really, as with many artists, they were not necessarily appreciated in their time, and sometimes it's later on. Um, he is kind of known for a lot of color and the way he did things with line, and he really enjoyed geometric shapes. And he was Roman Catholic by religion. Somehow reaffirmed that religious fervor. I would say less than 10 years before his passing, from what I could read, that it started to come more ready to him, that he wanted to do that, which I think is a good thing, because he's a bit of a sad figure because he was considered very eccentric. He was considered rude. The neighbors didn't like him. But we're not focusing so much on some of that today. We're focusing on the art and what he was able to create. But he definitely was, when people say a person of artistic temperament, this is what they were talking about. So, but I think you're going to really enjoy what my mother is able to share with you regarding seeing a particular painting with spiritual eyes. And it'll help you when you look at other paintings and viewing and accessing that from your spiritual side. So,
Mhm.
really beautiful. Is there anything else you wanted to add historically before you tell that one
Um,
story about?
I think you've covered a lot.
I didn't want to give you
A
a
lot more than I
deluge.
knew.
I don't want to give you a whole deluge, but
Yeah.
just to kind of set the scene, as it
Right.
were.
Yes.
Oh, but when his father, the banker, he died, he Cezanne never really had to worry about money again because he inherited 400,000 francs. So he was set up for life. So he could just paint away. Lucky him.
Yes,
And I
very
know he
lucky.
had family with him, his mother and sister and things like that.
Yeah.
So he wasn't um completely abandoned when his father passed, but he still had the element of
Yeah.
family around him. So my mom's going to share a story about Cezanne.
Yes. And I actually, he wasn't one of my most popular people when I
Not our
was in school.
favorite.
He was my
Sorry,
favorite.
Cezanne, but
Yeah,
not our favorite
and I
artist.
love Impressionism, you
Yes,
know,
yes.
and
Monet, Manet.
Monet,
Yes.
Manet, and Van Gogh, and so
Hmm.
many Impressionists. I love the light. Well, they were looking for the light. And so when I saw this picture, I think I said, I want to see the light because everybody really liked him. The
Yeah,
other artists,
they really
they
liked
clustered
him.
around him actually. And I heard that he'd go painting with a bunch of them, and then he'd just throw his paintings out beside the road. He wouldn't pay any attention to them. I found that be a
Yeah.
little bit odd,
When I
but
said he was eccentric, this is
yeah.
this is
But he
part of it.
kept going because he never was he wasn't satisfied with his work
Mhm.
because he was really always in every painting, he was trying for something.
Sure. And he
Trying,
did portraits, he did still lifes, he did
right,
landscapes, the whole
trying for
nine
the
yards.
concept. What is it about the person that I'm trying to put on the painting so that people recognize that aspect? Because, everybody has lots of aspects about themselves.
Sure.
So he always tried to get one that and hang on to it. It was hard because he had to have people sit for him. He couldn't just take a photograph.
Right.
And then, how your photographs don't always look like you, but he would, but when you sit with a person for a long time, you kind of get the gist, talking to them what they're like.
Mhm.
And so that gives you a little bit more of a time to perceive their spirit.
Yes, the
And so,
essence of them. Mhm.
so it's not like a photograph where you pick something that you've decided is the best or whatever.
Mhm.
It's like interesting, a little more interesting.
It is more interesting.
So when I'm looking at paintings, viewing them in the museum and everything, I'm always struck by how much spirit there is in most of the paintings that you look at. And like the artist doesn't know they're there. The one who painted them doesn't know what he's painting many times.
Sometimes, yes.
So I saw Cezanne's picture that we're going to look at, and we haven't
We're not
shown.
going to show it until you
Okay.
give them the lead up on the
Okay.
story.
So I was looking through this book. It was all about the history of landscape. And then I saw one by Cezanne, and it just captured me. I said, and I read the little blurb on it, and I'll talk about that when we put the picture up. Or
Oh,
should I
no,
say
I
it
want
now?
you to tell them before, because when we
Okay,
show
all
them the
right.
picture, we're going to go into aspects of what you saw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we want to give them the story first.
So in the blurb, it said this and the name of the painting is La Cabanon de Jourdan.
Le Cabanon de Jourdan.
I had French in eighth grade,
Yeah, Le Cabanon de Jourdan.
and then I had it again in high school. It didn't. I didn't. I haven't spoken it, So
Sure.
yes, but I don't want to ruin the name for them. But
Yeah. So forgive us if we pronounced it incorrectly. We did our
yeah,
best.
yeah, because I like to hear people speak French, but
Yeah, it's a challenge sometimes.
yeah,
So in the blurb, it explains about
yes.
an event that is very
So
significant to
he
Jourdan.
he this is then it says it's his last painting that he ever did, and I'm thinking, what would it be like to see what is of spirit in the last painting that a painter ever did. And it also says, which I haven't read anywhere else, that it was really raining hard. He was outside painting and he wasn't truly well. He was having some trouble breathing.
Hmm.
But he was so passionate about painting that he stuck with it. And he painted this painting. And they also said in the blurb that he collapsed.
Yes.
He just collapsed in front of his painting.
What would have been
But
a
he
bit
didn't
of a
die.
silly thing, though. I mean, I'm thinking, why would you go outside and is painting and continue painting?
I
I
know.
don't know.
I know. Well, yeah.
Well,
So, so the whole thing is pretty
he's
mysterious.
67 years old at that point.
He's 67. Okay.
Hmm.
I had to look a lot up about him after I saw the painting and the blurb. And I said, well, this doesn't make any sense. Then I looked at the picture. The picture doesn't make any sense. It's not raining in the picture. The sky is blue.
It's not like there had been a storm that had been brewing before this whole
It's
big
not one
rain
of something
thing.
dark with clouds or
The rain that he was in is missing.
they said it was a downpour, a really bad downpour. So anyway, so I think this is strange.
Hmm.
So here's a guy out there and he's not well, and he's not necessarily a happy person,
No, he had
and
problems,
he's
apparently.
painting a blue sky, and I'll have to tell more about it.
Sure.
Um, I can see faces up in it because I'm a spirit artist. It's so easy to see faces in people's work that they don't even know are there. Almost every artist, just in the brush strokes,
Mhm.
unconsciously. You're making a sky. You don't realize you're putting faces in it,
True.
and it
True.
happens in my art all the time.
Yes.
But so I'm looking at it and I'm seeing groups of people in the arrangement of the trees and stuff that are in it. And this building is kind of a mustardy color
Yes.
building, and that's the Cabanon, the
Cabanon
cottage
means hut, I guess. Hut.
hut or
Jordan's hut. So
cottage.
it would be
Yeah,
Le
Jordan's hut.
Cabanon de Jourdan
Yeah,
or Jordan's hut.
yeah,
It's the translation
yeah.
for it. But shall we show them the picture now? Would that
We
help?
could,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you feel ready for it.
Oh, I'm ready.
And she's ready. So that you guys can see and sharing now. There we go.
It's kind of a very abstract.
Sure.
Um,
It has a modern art
it has
feel.
a modern art feel. It looks and it's a little bit rough.
Right. And you're
It doesn't
thinking,
look like it's
this is not as
no.
inspiring as you would hope after all this buildup. But, I did read how he was very different from a lot of painters. Like they maybe have 7 colors on a palette. And he
Uh-huh.
had made sure he had 18.
18.
I think he was trying to really use as much as he could in terms of this.
Right.
But he's known for his color and trying to get
Right.
the realism, but also the light
But there's an
and the
abstract
shapes. Mhm.
quality about the shapes. He is concentrating a little bit on the geometric. I can see a diamond shape back in the picture.
Yeah, in the very center
Center
this
of that, it's a
painting.
white diamond is there. That wouldn't have existed there.
And I feel like there's a secondary white diamond right
There
next
is.
to it.
There is kind of a little spirit one.
Yeah.
And there's so much in here. The really mysterious thing about this whole thing is that the doorway is sky.
Right. So why would the door?
So here he is, a symbol of this. He's got this wonderful cottage. By the way, he spent a lot of time in that cottage and visiting whoever owns it.
Mhm.
So it's like the sky is blue. It's not downpouring. The doorway, you look in there in this sky,
Fresh blue sky.
and it's like you get this feeling of lightness and airiness about the whole part. And yet this kind of like branch growing thing, that's not necessarily like straight trees or anything like
Oh,
that.
right.
It's
He
like,
made sure he curved the
yeah,
trees because this was an actual place that he was
yes,
painting
right.
and representing.
And he's working with all the elements. And so you're looking at it now. Now I know that he's in the process of the first stages of his dying, because after he was found apparently or revived himself and left the premises there, he only had a few days to live.
Yeah.
He had some kind of pneumonia
Mhm.
and really bad breathing troubles and stuff.
And
So
he continued to work on this painting.
and he made it the way he wanted to do for a last painting. He must have known he was in the process.
Mhm.
But when I looked at this, I suddenly saw that there was in the doorway path going up to the doorway what looked to like, for me from a distance, like a person was lying down there, feet face. I feel like the head's this way.
Mhm.
And then I feel like I can almost see hands coming up
Right.
that are crossing, that he's holding over toward his heart.
So it has the path starts to take on the representation of a person. I don't know if
And it almost looks like either he's in a boat or a little coffin,
Mhm.
and it's like, oh my gosh, it looks like he's getting ready to transport right through that doorway, which I then thought, that's a portal to heaven.
It is a portal to
Because
heaven.
he's got the sky, and if you look in the sky, some people that I showed it to saw angels,
Mhm.
saw people up here. There's a very clear face if you had a better picture of it. There's when you look at, in an actual
On a
print.
big, huge computer.
Yeah. You see all kinds of faces up there. It's almost like the spirit world is coming close down in this aspect with near the diamond. there are some biblical lurking. Now, I
Right.
didn't know that he was a Catholic even. I
So it
never
goes
had,
putz, then some
and then
diamond, and
since
then
then
a
I don't.
figured.
And they
And
look,
I said, because my mom said, I see Mary,
yes, I see Mary,
Mary, Mother
and
Mary.
it's almost like a tableau area here. And I feel like a religious quality to this picture, despite the fact that it's kind of rough looking as a
Yeah,
painting
it looks rough
goes.
as a painting.
But I love it,
Yeah.
But it's like it's kind of rough quality. Up here against this wall, there's another almost like a screen if you went to the drive-in, you know what I mean? It's got people up in here and things and buildings. It is like
Yeah, it
you're
looks like a mural in the
a
wall that's
mural
very
on the
subtle.
wall. There's no mural on that wall, really.
No,
And
but it has no
so,
look.
yeah, so there's that. And the more I look at this picture, the more I see. So that's kind of interesting because I don't think that the artist actually, I think if he did see them, he left them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like was doing a little bit of a spirit paint, halfway in, halfway out kind of place that he was at when he was doing this. And it's like he was doing like a between the gap picture, is what I'm thinking. And that God showed him a portal in this
So I just want to
doorway.
reinforce what Mom's saying about this portal. So remember she's mentioned in the pathway just in front of the bluish looking doorway portal
Mhm.
there that there's a person lying down that's the feet is at the
Yes,
threshold
and they're
of the
kind of
door
bluish already.
and then the head and you can see the nose in
Yeah,
more profile is
yeah.
farther out.
And
But
it's
what you see in the blue portal, you can see the legs. There's a reflection of a spirit
yes,
body
there is.
there. And that's the significant part of this,
Hmm.
of going from the earth plane, being, let's say, down on the ground, dying. That's the
Yes.
way you want to put that.
Basically, he collapsed
And
while he's doing it.
then upright in that blue portal
That's
doorway,
right.
his spirit
Yeah.
or perceived spirit in that space. So I encourage you to look at this on a bigger screen so you can see a little bit more thoroughly what my mom's explaining
Over
here.
on this side, you can see a couple of angels with kind of folded wings
So
between there.
she's talking
See?
about on the right-hand side of the painting, not
Hmm.
the first cluster of trees that where Mother Mary is next to the diamond area, but the farthest right section of branches of trees.
Hmm.
And there are some angels with more of a lighter color, blue,
Hmm.
white,
And then
that are in there and present. Hmm.
it's almost like he's having his body, which he painted so much all the time he was painting, his body and his mind and his soul were kind of in a linked place.
Right.
And I think that's some of the value of being an artist is that you, and it's just like driving. Driving, when you first start driving,
Yeah.
you're scared. You don't want to drive off the road.
Mhm.
But after you've been driving a while, it all comes naturally.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's almost like a meditation
Sure.
that you're getting from here to there. And sometimes you don't even remember, you know. But I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're not making any mistakes.
Right.
You're
On
not driving
autopilot.
off the road. So if you're an artist and you're painting, you're just painting. And then you realize, oh, even if he noticed what he was doing, he would have left it for us to
Right.
see.
Right.
Because artists are always leaving tracks, especially spirit tracks. I've noticed that with so many artists. So when you go to the museum, don't forget to look within the painting
Hmm.
because within ourselves is this vast place. If I want to visualize my own doorway at home, it's not a problem.
That's right.
I can see it from here. I
Hmm.
just look inside, and it's not in the room here with you,
Hmm.
but I know what it looks like.
Hmm.
I know where the keyhole is. You know what I mean? The details. So everything about us, it has a spiritual dimension
Yes.
because, and we know that because everybody says, well, that's just your memory. It's not just your memory, it's a vision.
Right.
And it's not even a written vision, it's an artistic vision. And you can go back to your own childhood and see people, and you can see the houses you've lived in.
Yes.
and your friends that you played with.
True.
Just and sometimes they're not quite there, but other times you have a better vision of them. In dreams, you have that visionary press. The entire area within you is filled with light,
Mhm.
and the as the uh, inspiration of the Impressionists was light. They were very familiar with the inner light,
This is true.
even though they didn't always live like they were.
That's also true.
You
Is
know,
there anything else about the painting you wanted to show them?
um,
Because what you're saying is important, but I just didn't know if I should take it off of screen share at
okay.
this point.
Can you think of anything else we talked about earlier? Um,
Well, I think the portal is, I would say, the most important part
oh,
of it.
the most,
The angels and the Mother Mary and the other figure that are there on a saintly level to assist in the
no,
transition.
I have to say this.
Go for it.
The the thing that most appears to me to be satisfying for me to know is God showed him that portal.
Right.
He showed him a bit of the heaven side, but he showed him the portal. And I believe that God shows everybody a portal before they pass. You always wonder, how is it to pass? What is it like?
Right. Right.
And you have people who have actually passed over and come back.
Mhm.
But I think this is another indication that no matter what his life was like or anything, when it comes time that you're going to go to the next realm, that you will be shown how to do it, and there will be helpers.
Yes, I think
I
that's the
love that.
essence of this
The
particular
essence
painting.
of the picture.
And, for him to be near death at that point, and, how it is when you've been half awake and half asleep. It's in that kind of space that sometimes people are able to connect with spirit more
Hmm.
fully, or at end of life. Their end of life visions are very common, as I've featured on the show
Yeah.
before. And I think it's really interesting to think about the fact that Cezanne, high probability that this is what he was experiencing. And today we're able to look at this painting and put two and two together
Get so much out
and
of
get
it.
so much out of it. Do you see have anything else you wanted to share in this particular painting?
I
Otherwise, I'll take it off the
No, I
screen
think
share
we're
because they can
good.
just
I
see
mean, I can
us.
see more things everywhere, but anybody who gets this painting up and looks at it online
Yes.
could could appreciate it, you know.
Yeah, I think I might have just passed by that painting if I saw it on the wall. I'd be like, oh, that's kind of nice. Better than I could do, yes. But also, I don't know that I would have looked at it
I
unless,
wouldn't have.
unless you had said, okay, I'm going to stand here and see if I could find something. Now, my mother is the person that can find the four-leaf clover in the field.
That's
And
true.
so she can find these visions, and I can too, but she is very, very well attuned to these things.
Hmm.
And I think when an artist really understands about art and the spiritual quality that can emerge, so often when we've looked at a particular artist's work, I might look up later on and research. I'll be like, oh my gosh, look at this. Here's yet another artist that was spiritually inclined, spiritually minded, that we might not have associated with it, because art sometimes makes, depending on the art, it can make you feel like you have a bad taste in your mouth. But other kinds of art is very inspirational.
Hmm.
And I thought it was interesting. I did find a quote by Paul Cezanne, and he said, when I judge art, I take my painting and put it next to a God-made object like a tree or flower. If it clashes, it is not art.
Wow.
What a
Wow.
quote. When I judge art, I take my painting and put it next to a God-made object like a tree or flower. If it clashes, it is not art. This is the father, considered the father of modern art. Sometimes Manet is considered, it just depends on
Yeah,
who you ask.
different ones are,
But
yeah.
it's very interesting to me
Yeah.
because um, there's a desire for naturalism,
Hmm.
and that he obviously connected with deeply and was able to merge the geometric. Helma off Clint also had that. I've had that episode as a past show. If anybody wants to look up Helma off Clint, she also turns out did a lot with modern art and at the beginning of things. So just educate yourself about some of these artists and their viewpoints. Some of them have a, a worthiness, a spiritual purity to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, I don't know when that quote, when he said that, I'm
I know. I
wondering
wonder.
if it was before or after his faith had revived.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about that. Not that everybody has to ascribe to a particular religion, but
No.
I think it's healthy for people to be more spiritually minded, to
Mm-hmm.
look for the spiritual
Right.
so that they're not just looking at something in a secular way,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're an artist. When we've talked on the show before about inner vision and how we access those things and really see with godly eyes, that it matters that
Mm-hmm.
we're connecting into the divine.
It does. It does. So, and it's so it is, and it's nice to have when you go somewhere. It's like when you meet somebody, it's always nice if you see something about them that's kind of like connecting,
Hmm.
with. But when you see a painting, you don't always connect. Now, I never connect with the Cezanne before
Yeah,
until
he
I
wasn't
ran across
really
that one.
that much on our radar
No,
in terms of
no.
things.
But
But
now I'm
yeah,
very interested.
now that you've
Yeah.
seen this, you can't unsee it,
No, that's right.
and it makes you say, "Wow, he really, on some level, understood that he had a soul."
Oh yeah. That's what
And
I didn't know.
that's what I think is so beautiful, and hopeful in the painting,
Mm-hmm.
truly. And I would always think of, when people talk about church as God's house and everything, and in spiritualism in the old days, they would talk about Summerland, and that when you passed, everybody would go into their own little beautiful house. And I'm wondering if there's this spot where at least it's a way station on the way to his house,
Well,
as
yeah,
it were,
he did
his spirit
spend
house.
time there because it was close to nature, and then he would paint. He knew that. He knew the owner of that.
Right. He
Yeah.
had the connection through that.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. Now I want to look at other paintings that he did and see if I can see anything there.
Yeah.
Because for me, when I looked before, I think there's some guys playing cards, or what I mean. It's like it wasn't anything I was interested in.
Right. Right.
And but I like to do plein air painting.
Yes. Plein air is outdoor painting when you're outside and
Yeah,
you're capturing the light and the moment that's
yeah.
in front of you
So,
and the
and
colors of it.
I just this last week when we visited some relatives, I had a chance to talk to someone I hadn't actually talked to before, and he's so interested in art, but he said I could never paint, right? And the common thing that
Yeah.
you hear is I can't paint a
I'm
straight
not an
line.
artist. I
And
can't
I
draw.
always tell everybody, artists never draw straight lines. You know, have you ever seen an art with a painting with a straight line? Well, yeah, the very modern things,
Very modern art. Yes.
like Monet
Yes.
and stuff. But yeah, you don't have to be able to paint in order to start painting. And if you just start painting and see what develops, you might find out that you're enjoying looking to see what you painted, as though you were Cezanne's picture. You made Cezanne's picture. Oh, look, I see an angel. I see a flower. I see a dog or a cat. It's just so exciting to paint
It
because,
makes it a lot more fun
you know,
because you
so
never know what's going to show up
no,
on the page or the canvas.
no, everybody's so busy trying to act photographic.
Right. Be
And
a
you don't need
realism
to,
thing.
because all you need to do
Hyperrealism.
is say, I'm going to paint that bouquet of flowers and start painting it and see what you
I
get.
think it's a true gift for artists when they're able to really help and retrain themselves back into seeing.
Hmm.
So when in an art class, when they're asking you to actually draw what you see,
Yeah.
there is an emphasis on kind of going deeper than just the surface. And yes, you're looking at line and form and shadow and contrast and
Hmm.
composition and all of those fun little words and uniting them as best you
Hmm.
can. But there is going deeper
Right.
into that. And then, as my mom so often does, going even deeper and looking for uh,
Asking for.
asking for the spiritual to show up
Hmm.
in what you're viewing.
Right.
And what a gift. We don't have to just do this with art. We can do this with people. We
That's
can
right.
look for their souls. We
That's
can
right.
look for the circumstances around us
Hmm.
that will show us the divine. Maybe it's on our walk when we're looking at the beautiful spring flowers, or
Yeah.
maybe it's during winter and we capture a snowflake falling in the air and how beautiful
Hmm.
it can be. So wherever we are, that in the natural world or in a regular terrarium world.
And we are also feeding our souls,
Yes, yes.
because when we look at something that's really beautiful, or if we see something that's ordinary, like the trash can school of art, and
Oh,
they
that's funny.
could paint things, and it's a trash can. It's beautiful, you know. But if you could start to see things in a different way, it it takes care of some of the things you thought were ugly.
That is
You
true.
know,
That
it's
is
like
true.
you think some things are ugly, and then you see somebody actually painted a painting of that,
Right?
and yeah, and it's and in it is stuff that spirit put in it. You know, even if it's a bouquet, you might see more in that,
Hmm.
even more than the beauty of the flowers themselves. You might see other things in it.
There's that hidden
Because
little glimmer.
there's no time when you can't be entertained with spiritual stuff.
That's right. No
That's
spiritual, we can't let spiritual boredom set in ever.
that's right.
Oh, how fun.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, I love it too. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share with people today
Um,
about seeing art with spirit vision? Because I think this is an important exercise for people. I know when mom said, "Ah, you got to look at this painting," there's that feeling of, oh.
I was gonna say it's
But
not that fun to look at.
when she
Once
starts
you
pointing
jump
it
in,
out,
it's
and
like
you're like,
jumping into the
oh, look at
water.
see, look at it.
Yeah,
Oh, let's see the messaging that's behind this.
exactly.
And you can apply this, and I think we'll probably do some more art things if people are
It would
interested.
be
So let us
fun.
know that you liked this episode, that you'd like to see more of this, because
They
based
can
on that
also
feedback.
email if they've seen something when they went to the museum that's not that the artist didn't know he did.
Right, and
You
maybe
know,
we'll dissect that one another time too.
sure,
But
sure.
certainly like and share and subscribe and let us know that you liked this episode. It's a little different uh, for you to have this example of art and how you can start to activate your spirit vision. Some of you probably easily saw what we were pointing out, and others were like, "What? What? Get it a little closer. Do what
Get
you can. Maybe squint your
a
eyes."
better print of it.
Practice looking
Yeah.
at the clouds and the shapes there.
Oh yeah,
Or the bark of trees, and you'll start to see all kinds of images and faces that start to
that's
emerge.
right.
And
Barks of trees are
yeah, oh
fascinating.
boy, maybe we'll have to take a walk and just show you how my mom finds things in trees. That'll be so fun. All right, everyone.
Okay,
We really appreciate you
thank
tuning in
you.
today. You can check things out on my mom's
I think it
website,
was fun.
bondspirit.com. And certainly tune in for more Great Wednesdays with Willa shows. I will tell you that I go on hiatus during the summer season for my show. We are so busy as registered mediums, and we have so many clients and family events that happen throughout the summer. Our
Hmm.
schedules are getting very, very booked in. In fact, I only have a couple of time slots left personally for August. So just as a heads up to you, always make your plans early when you're coming to visit Lilydale. We do have hotels, we have guest houses, we have some restaurants, but and
And
mediums,
a
of course.
beautiful lake.
Beautiful lake, wonderful natural world that's all around us, and the experience that can be had in the summertime. So we hope that you can join us this season, and that you can enjoy seeing things more with spirit vision. All right, everyone, have a wonderful week. I'll see you next time.